Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Leadership Now with me, Dan Pontefract. Today in the house, all the way from France, Samuel Durand. Samuel, thanks for joining me. First a bio, then we'll get in my first question. You're the author and producer of several workplace documentaries. That's how I found you. You started to explore the future of work in 2019 during a learning expedition. The documentary is called Work in Progress, published in 2021. And it explores the recent trends in the world of work. Sam visited experts and people all over Europe who had been reinventing the way we work to find meaning, including fully remote companies, freelancers, nomads, makers, creators, collectives, and communities. And in fact, the story of Work in Progress documentary has also been adapted into a comic book. It's very good. Sam, your second documentary, Why Do We Even Work, which was released in 2022, explored the different drivers of motivation. Why do some of us like to go to work? Why do we join one company rather than another? Why do we stay at that place of work? For what are we willing to exchange our most precious resource and our time for? In the documentary, Samuel, you break down the how, the what, and the why of work. It's fascinating stuff. I'm so excited to chat with you. I want to start first by a definition that you've come up with about the future of work. It's as follows. You say the best practices, methods, and trends of a minority of individuals who are, quote, ahead of their time and whom we consider in the future. You say, Samuel, the future of work is already a reality for some people, and we will talk about their work as the future until it's adopted by a majority of the people. I love that. So explain to me how really you have learned about the future of work and what it means to you over all of the documentaries and research you've done.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dan. And I think like we have so many bad stories about work, about management. I have so many articles, so many testimony. You just need to go down there to a pub or to a cafe, anywhere to hear bad conversations about the very bad definition of work. And I just wanted to share what works, what's positive about work. And as when I was just graduating a few years ago, I wanted to have a good perspective about work. So I went on this journey that you presented, like this learning expedition to meet with people who were ahead of the time. And actually, I just at first I had a very bad image of salaried work and of big companies. Then I understood that some of them they have implemented innovation in management, in organizations, in so different ways, from freelancers to the 4 days work week to autonomy to so many different topics that you can find meaning in plenty ways within a company. So I think it was refreshing to see that some innovations are also that these innovations, they are implemented everywhere in the world. It's not just like in this country we are so much ahead of the time. No, there is something linked to the culture, I guess. Like they have a different culture in Europe, in Japan. I'm just coming back from Japan, so it's way different than what we know. Or even in Europe, if you take Spain, Italy, or Scandinavian countries, or France, it's very, very different from the US too. But still, I've seen some pioneers companies innovating in everything, everywhere in the world, like in the US, in Canada, in France, in Vietnam, in Singapore, in Japan. So I think it always starts with someone who has a vision, and it's not always about economics or so. Sometimes the people are just willing to lose a little bit of money, but to gain so much well-being for the members. And sometimes they end up just like not losing any money and earning more money because the members are more engaged. And I think it's always how it starts.
So, Samuel, one of the questions I had for you, of course, is I know you're a researcher and a documentarian. You're going to do your research before you get into these projects. I'm assuming that you research a lot of the data that suggests, work sucks, employee engagement levels are bad, they're very low. There seems to be a bit, when I went through both of your documentaries, a dichotomy. And that is the data suggests that work sucks. Yet you've highlighted so many wonderful, great examples of companies and organizations and leaders, getting it right. So explain to me how we can live in a parallel universe when so many data points suggest work sucks, yet you found so many great examples of how it doesn't.
Yeah, I think that there's also a problem because if you hate your job, you're going to tell it to everyone, and you're going to share about how you hate your job everywhere. But if you love your job, and even if you don't love it, but just you like it, you enjoy going to work every day, or not going to work, like working. If you enjoy working in general, it feels normal, so you don't say it, you don't share about your experience. I think that's why also we have much more people sharing about their bad experience about work than people like sharing about what they like about it. But still, the level of burnout and anxiety and stress has never been higher, and lots of people hate what they do. um, I think we just also need to ask the real questions when you're looking for a job. Usually, I would say that pre-COVID, you would look for something that's around where you live, that would meet what your expectations in terms of salary, like what you would need to have the life you want to have, but not much more. Like that's all. You don't really care about who's you're going to work with, what are you going to do, what mission you're going to join. And I think that right now we are much more asking these questions, and they are so important. So in this documentary, Why Do We Even Work? We're just trying to show that in different countries, different type of company, different industries, different places, you can find the same drivers of motivations, like the work environment, the task itself, the autonomy, the mission. Like you need to be able, the company needs to be able to give answers, managers need to be able to give answers to people about these three drivers of motivation, so you're able to engage with the company over the long run. And we just need, I guess, more stories in podcasts, in documentaries, in articles, in everything about why people can find fulfillment in work. And if it's not fulfillment, at least a spark of joy.
Okay, well, that's a great segue because you brought up fulfillment. You brought up basically a sense of meaning, and you've always, strongly questioned the meaning of work and that sort of purpose of work, a reflection you say that follows us throughout our lives. But very often, I suppose, as you've mentioned in your documentaries, it's reduced, sorry, to the kind of desires for freedom from, like, being in a younger generation. And then you get into an organization, you get older, you get more mature, you get perhaps wiser, but you might also get beaten down by the bureaucracy or by bad leadership, etc. So I guess where I'm going with this, whatever your age, if we're in the midst of this paradigm shift and society as a whole is evolving, what have you learned, Samuel, about that meaning of work through the interviews and the documentaries you put out?
Well, first thing I'd say that it's not about generations, that we have people.
Good.
I have friends like they're my age, they're 26, and it feels like they're already 70, and they don't really have projects. They don't really care about their work. They're not asking themselves the right questions, and they would like to sit in a closed office with someone to help them with their agenda. And I see people in their 50s, their 60s, and they're working, they're teaching me stuff about innovation in organization, about innovation in anything management. So I wouldn't say it's something about generation. It's much more that it's about the environment we're in right now, post-COVID. And about meaning of work and fulfillment, I would say that we use sometimes we mistake, we we do a little bit of mistake by saying that we need meaning, and really what we're focusing on is the impact. But not all jobs can have a good impact, and it's not really important if you're not working in something that has a positive impact over planet or health or education. We like, you can still find meaning, but to find meaning you just have to understand what you're looking for. Are you looking for a great environment where you are with people, you're surrounded by people you love being with? And sometimes it's just enough, like you can do anything, but just being with the right colleagues, the right people around you that are not just colleagues but also friends, that you can be your true self with them. That's something that's it gives lots of value to a job, and for some people that's enough. Some people, they don't really care about who they're with, they just really care about what they're doing, and like the task itself and how they're doing it. Can they be creative, can they be autonomous? And if they have this like it's enough for them, and they don't really care. And some other people, they would do anything if they're just fulfilling a mission, if they're part of a collective. And what I'm trying to say is that you just have to ask yourself the right questions about what's important for me. Why are we getting up every morning? Why should I go to work? And if I have true answers and not just I need money, and it's something I saw something on Facebook or on LinkedIn, and I just applied, and I got in. Like it's not enough. You have to know why you're doing it, and it doesn't have to be a big why. Like people are always chasing about what's my why, why am I doing in my life, like should I pursue a mission in education, in health, in anything, like some big mission. It doesn't have to be with it something that has a great impact for other people. Just, first question is about you, like what do you need to be happy at the end of the day and to have a smile on your face when you get up in the morning?
One of the books I wrote was called The Purpose Effect. And the subtitle is How to Build Meaning in your life, your role, and your organization. And what I found in my research, Samuel, was that, in fact, it's a kind of like a trifecta. It's like a Venn diagram that you have to kind of have a sense of meaning for who you are in life. You go to work, and you better find some sort of sense of fulfillment or meaning in that role. But there's also your organization. If the organization either doesn't stand for something, or it's doing harm, or even it's just, all about profit and EBITDA and not about sort of the general, hey, what are we doing for society? Then things kind of fall down. Have you witnessed in any of your interviews or discussions, or working with some of the organizations, a similar model? Like, do you see that some companies and organizations try to help their people with that sense of meaning of life and just, who the person is, plus they want that organization to do well in society? Like, tell me a bit about what you've discovered over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that in the world in general, we're seeing more and more companies shifting to be neutral, to take a clear stance on issues that matter. So, for example, in the documentary, we have Ben and Jerry's. And it's always about how you tell the story, because some people would say that Ben and Jerry's, that they're harming people because they're selling ice creams, and ice creams is helping people getting fat for some reasons. Like it's always like how you tell the story, and that they would say, no, we're just helping the world because we make profit on selling ice cream, and these profits, we reinvest the profits in issues that we can stand for. It's whether it's climate change, or justice system, or the environment, or LGBTQ rights. Like it could be anything they believe in. But I would say that like Ben and Jerry's is leading the way, but still we have many more companies who are not neutral anymore, and they are saying that we believe in this. We believe, for example, in autonomy. We're going to give you autonomy, and we want to help you achieve your goals, not only within the companies, but in your life. So in most of the companies who are described as pioneers, I think that the thing that's always here is that they give responsibility to people. And when I say responsibility, it's not like I give you lots of things to do, and if you don't do it, you have a problem or you're responsible for it. It's more than you directly see the impact of your work on what you're doing, on the project and on the company itself. And lots of different people are different. Like some people need autonomy, some want to be creative, some don't. But we all want to see that if we're doing something, it has an impact. That's the most important thing. And a lot of companies, they fail to do this. And this is how people lose faith in the company, lose engagement. They don't really see their value. They don't feel valued. So if a company starts to offer this, then people, if they see the impact they have, they can also see what part of their personality they're bringing to the company and to the group, and so they feel value, and then I think that's the kind of system you're talking about.
Yeah, wonderful. I love your Ben and Jerry's example. And it's such a profound moment in one of your documentaries. Basically interviewing a couple of people within the plant, and they're saying, "Look, I come to work, and this is what we get to do. We're helping farmers, right? We're helping cows. We're reducing our GHG emissions. Like they're actually in it for the planet, despite the fact that they're making ice cream." So it's that almost counterintuitive balance that they're like, "Yeah, we know we're making ice cream, However, we're doing it ethically, if you will, so that we can help our people feel good about where they work, and we're helping society. So I was curious, you've been privileged to interview and to work with leaders at Microsoft and Upwork and TopToll and GitLab and Google and Shell and IDEO. So what are some of the trends or I guess learnings that you've uncovered with some of those leaders when it comes to things like meaning or even the future of work? Like what really resonated with you?
Mm, I think that's overall, like it's been 4 years I've been in this future work topic, interested in it, and I think that the the major lesson is that whether a company are really like engaged on the topic, like if they want to retransform themselves, whether it's because they really feel like they have something to do, something else to do than just earning money, or whether they are just passionate about finding a mission for everyone, or having a positive impact, they will have to transform themselves if they don't believe it, because the economics tells that like right now consumer, they vote by buying something, and at the same time candidates, they won't join a company that is harming our environment, that is that is not trying to solve the big issues we have in our century. And if a company isn't able to take a stand on these issues and to show that they really care about the values that the people believe in, whether they are consumer or whether they are candidates or members of the company, people aren't going to work for them anymore. So what I see is that lots of people, they shift from being neutral to take a stand on lots of different topics. I would say that like 10% of them, they believe in what they're supporting, and 90% they don't really care about it. It's just that because of the economics, they just need it. But still, in the end, we don't really care. We just need companies to do their part, and by doing so, I would say that the leaders that I've met with, some of the pioneers, they really care about it. It's not just about the economics. That they also it's not just about business. They also really profoundly care about their members, and they want them to achieve something. They don't want them to come and do their work. They want them to be happy with their lives, with their family, and if it's not happy, if it's just like achieving a goal, like I wouldn't say that a company needs to make their members happy. It's not the role of a company to make people happy. I think it's more of an individual choice. Some people have chosen to be happy, some some have chosen to don't. And I would say that the goal of the company is to set goals for people that are achievable and to help them achieve goals, because and it can work for anything. Like for most of the conversations about the future of work, it's about remote work, and it excludes lots of different people in other industries. But what's really true for everyone is like you can give trust, you can give responsibility to someone, whatever job it is, and then you can also really yeah, I would say that this level of trust you can put in someone when you hire someone is something that's just much more than just working for the company. It's a trust that you give in the personality, in the person itself, and it's much more about work. So you trust them in their life in general, and it will help them achieving their goals in general.
Well, I couldn't agree more in terms of the happiness piece. In fact, I have a book coming out this year called Work Life Bloom. And I'm making the point right up front, there's no such thing as work life balance. And it's not the employer's responsibility to make you happy. It's, a collective, and it's not about happiness. It's about fulfillment. It's about, how I feel developed, how I'm blooming in both work and life. But that's for another day. You and I can talk about that later on. What I realized when I started to get to know you is that your research started prior to the pandemic, and then you started researching during a pandemic, and now not necessarily that we're out of a pandemic, but it's certainly easing up. So I was curious, Samuel, like what have you learned between what companies and leaders have evolved or what they've changed in the way in which that they're operating their company? So did some of the things that you learned about that were wishful thinking things back in 2019 before the pandemic, i.e. the future of work, now actually have happened And what more have you noticed in terms of the evolution, I suppose, between when you started your work and where you are right now in your thinking?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question because if you refer to the definition of the future of work we gave earlier, lots of things that were the future of work before the pandemic became the present of work. So I won't talk much about it because there's been so many things said about remote work. But yeah, in general, the different trends they accelerated, and some things that were just reserved to a few people. Now it's more popular, and so
Hmm.
remote work, we everyone tried it, and even people who didn't believe in it, they tried it, and now they're working remotely. But I would say that in something that is a bit different is about the talents. Like uh, before, we had people trying to join a company. It was very hard for them. The market was in favor of the companies. Now it's the opposite. The market is in favor of the candidates, of the members, and it's hard for companies to recruit. And one trend that accelerated, and it was the first thing I explored in my research, was the relationship within freelancers and big companies.
Yeah.
I'd say that like a few years ago, in 2016, something like this, companies were hiring freelancers because didn't have choice. They wanted to work with someone as salaried workers, but they weren't available. And right now they understood that this in this vision of this total workforce management, they can have both people working over the long run with them and people working as freelancers for them. And then they're not before, like, right now they're proud to work with freelancers because they understood that some of them are top talents, and they really integrated them in the way they work. It means that they really shifted their organizations from from the human resource to the manager to also the supplier. Like everyone work on new processes to integrate them within the companies. But I think it's one of the trends that accelerated a lot. Like I see companies who pre-COVID would say that we're not working with freelancers. If we are not really proud of it. It's just because we don't find anyone else. And right now they're applying to different competitions to share how good they are with working with freelancers. So really there was a shift, and also at the same time I see this in France. I'm not sure it's the same in the US, but in Europe in general, lots of people were trying to become freelancers because they wanted to escape from salaried work because it was very rigid. Like you had,
Yeah.
wasn't really flexible, and the lifestyle of freelancer over a salaried worker was of an employee was very different. But right now, as being an employee is much more flexible. Like you don't really have the same difference between being a freelancer. So lots of people who would think of being freelancer right now, that they're just staying in salary workers, employees, and it works for them because they have the trust, they have the flexibility to organize their day, the place they're working to. So also this is something I haven't noticed first, but right now I'm seeing more and more people stay employees and not wanting to become freelancers anymore.
Well, it also begs a different question you've actually brought up, and it's a good segue, and that is you've been able to research and travel to different countries, to different cities, and you're very good at making sure that you have a great bifurcation, or I guess cross section of industries that you've researched. So I'm curious, Samuel, is there one country or certain cities or certain industries that you find are evolving quicker or better, and sort of that quote future of work or the meaning of work kind of tenets that you've been researching are just frankly doing it better than others?
Mm, it's so different. Like I have some industries, some countries, some companies that I prefer, but it's really from my point of view. And like for example, for this new documentary, I was in Sweden, and there they finish work around 4 p.m. and they have a clear separation between personal life and professional life. And this is something that I'm really proud of. And I think it's the kind of work the kind of separation, the kind of lifestyle I would like to have. And this is not the kind of lifestyle I admire. But for them, it's really working. And you could say that there is a lot of innovation in there. But at the same time, I would say that the company I'm the most impressed by is Patagonia. I've been able to interview them for my new documentary, Time to Work, and they really have understood this concept of life-work integration over work-life balance. This idea that first you're working on a mission that you really believe in. It's not the work and your life. Like if you're working like their slogan is we're here to save our home planet. If they're working to save our home planet in marketing or in finance, for example, during the week, you can assume that people during the weekends they're also working to save our home planet, and they really believe in the values. But much more than that, they have this nursery within the company, and they also pay for your bail if you're arrested during non-violent action.
Oh, wow.
They help you. Yeah, they help you abort if you're in the state where it's now illegal in the US. So I would say they don't push you to go on strikes or to or to abort, but they would help you. They would favor some attitudes, some behaviors. And so this way, and more than that, like the spirit of the company, the founder wrote this book, Let My People Go Surfing. And the idea is that if there is swell, if there are waves, you should be in the water surfing, and then you would do your work at some point, and as long as you don't hurt, you don't harm the project, the group, the rest of the company, the collective, you just organize how you want in terms of place and in terms of hours in your day. So I would say that this concept of life work integration is something I believe much more than this concept of work-life balance, and it's not something that is bound to a company or to a place or to an industry. We have just the vision of leaders that are everywhere in the world that share the spirit.
Well, you had me at hello on that one because I couldn't agree more with respect to the next book I'm putting out, Work Life Bloom. In fact, similarly, my research suggests that even employees aren't interested in work-life balance in so much as they do want balance, but it's sort of a false narrative. If you're espousing that the organization is balanced, then you're suggesting that there aren't times when you have to work 50 or 60-hour weeks because there's a deadline or because there's an important project or there's a customer crisis. And it's that sort of notion that, well, if life is part of your work or work is part of your life, what are we as employers doing to create the conditions that allow us to bloom in both work and life? And it sounds like this particular example sort of echoes that sentiment, if that's fair.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this false narrative is also because we don't really have a clear definition of what work is. And like this border is blurred right now. But I did a little bit of an experiment over the last 3 months. I tracked all the time I invested in anything. I used the tool to track this, and just yesterday I tried to compile the data to sort all this, to organize this, and I found that I'm working on average like 40 hours a week, and every day. Like I don't really care about if it's a weekend or if it's on a Monday. But when you're trying to look into what is work, if you say that work is something I am paid for, I'm only working 20 minutes every day. If work is something that's it feels like an effort for me, I don't really like it. It's around 35 minutes every day. But if work is production, like I'm really creating something, it's around like 2 hours and a half every day. But if it's just being in an activity or a screen time, it's around 6 hours every day. So depending on the definition you take about work, you have a different vision of the time you spend working. And I think it's interesting to have this discussion about what we consider about what is work, because for some people it's something really bad because we just don't have the good narrative. And on the topic, in this new documentary, I think I found the perfect definition. It's not from me; it's from an anthropologist called James Guzman, and he explained that he has this definition that would make hunter-gatherers, a trader, or a farmer agree. It's that work is when we spend energy purposefully on something, and that's it. And it includes also like unpaid work, which is also work. Like you're working on, you're trying to work on the dishes at home, and you're not paid for it, but still it's an effort and it's unpaid work. Raising a child is unpaid work, and with this definition, like spending energy towards a goal, I think it's a good one because we just have this universal and fairer definition.
Well, that's just poignant, Samuel. I know that you spend your energy purposefully on the work that you're doing, and it's very good work, my friend. Where can we find out more about what you're up to next, and send us somewhere so we can find out where it is?
I think you can look for workinprogress.com on the internet, and then you'll find the links to the different documentary, Work in Progress, Why Do We Even Work, Time to Work. We have different screenings, mostly in Europe, but you can find the link if you're outside of Europe to watch the documentaries online. And then we're trying to show the documentary within schools, because people need to have this positive vision of work as young as possible. And then within companies, of course, to create these kind of discussions. And if you read French, you can also try to read the comic books. I recommend it.
Ouais, merci beaucoup, mon ami, et à la prochaine. Samuel Durand as our guest today on Leadership Now with me, Dan Pontefract. Look for everything that he's got at workinprogress.com. The new documentary coming out. When is that, Samuel, roughly speaking?
It's April the 4th.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to that. And again, you're quite a documentarian and researcher of everything that I love, which is all about purpose, that work in progress. Why do we even work? And what is work? I love what you're doing. So thanks so much, Samuel.
Thank you so much, Dan, for having me. All the best.
All the best.